Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview. I'm excited about today's interview for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I get to meet someone new. Nicole and I have not had a chance to chit chat, so selfishly, I'm going to be asking Nicole a ton of questions to really get to know her background, where, and all the things that she's been experiencing, not only pre-pandemic, but also post-pandemic. So this is a really exciting opportunity for me to get to know a fellow, vegan professional. And also, it's really exciting for me to talk to kind of the people behind the brands. For many of us, we know these brands as consumers. We walk into stores and we love the seitan, the jackfruit, that we get from Upton Naturals. We use it in our homes. We just enjoy it and share it with our families. And maybe it's been a way that you've gotten someone in your family to try vegan or, take that step to eating vegan. And maybe these products have been that bridge for you. And what I find in these interviews is it's really exciting to be able to see the people who make it all happen, the people who allow us to share our veganism with our family, with our friends, with our neighbors, and convert the world as all of us are secretly doing. But also, it's a great way to hear not only the stories, to hear about the successes, the wins, and also the fun journey that many of us are on as entrepreneurs. It's great to hear how business owners, hear how managers, hear how VPs like Nicole are not only flexing during this pandemic, but also finding new ways to grow and new ways to help. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you our guest today. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Stephanie.
So let's give everyone a little bit of background. Let's give everyone a little bit of a taste of where Nicole comes from and a little bit of her vegan story. So maybe let's give people just perspective on how long have you been vegan and really what was your journey like? What kind of brought you down that path?
Yeah, so I've been vegan since 1996, so 24 years since I was 16 years old. So I became vegan as a teenager. I think for me, just as a teenager, you don't have a lot of control in the world. And this is one way that I could try to impact the world, try to make the world the kind of place that I wanted to live in. So that's how I became vegan.
That's pretty good. I love that you had the foresight to know that at 16. I wish I was that smart then. It took me a lot longer to get here, but it's amazing that you made that decision then. And then also, it's just so great to talk to people that remember when, we didn't have all those options, when we had the one vegan this and the one vegan that in the world, and we were making it happen. And then, companies like Upton Naturals allow us to have so much more variety. So it's exciting to kind of hear someone that understands the journey and also some of the trials and tribulations that many of us old school vegans had faced. So let's talk about the business a little bit. Let's give everyone a little bit of background on the business, what you offer, where your products are available, and then maybe give them a little bit of background on your role in the organization as well.
Yeah, so Upton's Naturals has been around for about 15 years. I've been with Upton's Naturals for, I think, a little over 10 years now. The company is owned by my boyfriend. His name is Dan Stackman. And early in our relationship, I was laid off of my job in publishing and eventually started helping him out with his small business. And at some point I never left. So I've been with Upton's Naturals since we were 5 employees, and now we're over 50. So we make vegan food. We're a vegan-owned, vegan-operated business based in Chicago. We
All right, I gotta stop you there. We gotta have a little bit of a woo,
yeah.
for vegan owned and operated. I love, love, love businesses like that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and we're also a really unique business in our space right now, especially in the meat alternative space. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of investments. We're still 100% vegan owned. We have no outside investors, no outside money, no outside influence. It's just us doing kind of the things that we want to do, creating the kinds of products that we want to see. And so that's really exciting, makes it really fun to go to work. But anyway, we're primarily a meat alternatives company. We have some other products now that are not meat alternatives, but we have seitan, we have jackfruit, we have some meal kits, we have some vegan mac and cheeses. Where my dog is readjusting herself. She's getting comfortable. And yeah, I mean, we're just here in Chicago making vegan food.
Now, if you want to share just the origin story, meaning how did you get started? Maybe I know you said it's been 15-year company and you were there around the 11-year mark, but any history on kind of how the business got started and the contrast of then and maybe where you were. Let's go pre-pandemic. So let's go then to January, February 2020.
Yeah. So, Dan founded this company in 2005, 2006, just as a passion project. There at that time, seitan was a food that you could get primarily at restaurants, but wasn't really available in stores. There were some regional brands in different parts of the country, but in Chicago, there really wasn't a brand making seitan. So we started with an Italian seitan and grew from there, from a small space with Dan and I think one other person doing everything themselves, including distribution. When I joined the company in 2009, 2010, we were sold exclusively in the Midwest. In the US. And now, when we hit January, February of 2020, we were available in all 50 US states and about 20 countries. So we've grown significantly since then.
That's amazing growth and also amazing story. I think for even a lot of, all vegans out there, I think a lot of times, we wonder how much impact we're making in the world, how much are people changing? How much are people receptive to the food? And then also for many of us who have kind of the animal rights kind of piece close to our hearts, we get excited when a lot of these meat alternatives come out because of the potential of saving animals. So it's nice to hear the amount of growth you're doing because I think it just shows not only the amount of growth that we've seen in the world, but all the possibilities that many of us dreamed about when we first went vegan, that you guys are helping that dream become truly a reality. So let's switch gears. Let's jump back into 2020. Let's go back into your time machine and remember what it was like when the pandemic hit, when we started to get kind of stay-at-home orders, when many of our cities and towns were shut down. How were you guys impacted? And what were some of the things and maybe feelings that you were having at the time as you were going through that process?
Yeah, it's really interesting to think back about that now. I think in February, we were in Nuremberg in Germany for a trade show called Biofach. And that was when, it was more of an international crowd. And we were hearing that people weren't traveling from certain parts of the world to come to that show. And they had banned handshakes. And so that was a really interesting time. A month later, we were in Chicago 24 hours from leaving for Natural Products Expo West, which is our largest trade show of the year, held in Anaheim every March. We had heard about COVID. We didn't have a lot of information at that time. We had talked about it as a team and we had decided, we had kind of run through all the scenarios, like what if we get stuck in Anaheim? And we had decided to go. And 24 hours before we got on the plane, the whole show was canceled. So many people were already there. They were setting up their booths. This is a huge event for natural foods companies. Just spend a lot of money, a lot of effort to be there. And so when Natural Products Expo West was canceled, that was just unbelievable. And then things just started happening kind of quickly from there. Chicago and Illinois went on a stay-at-home order. Our restaurant here in Chicago went to pick up only, and delivery, and things have just been changing ever since then.
Now, did you feel, I mean, I think for many of us, there was that moment of shock. Like, what do we do? How do we respond? Like you said, you're physically about to go to the Natural Foods Expo, Next Products Expo. So that shock you feel, but then there's the shock of like, what's it going to be like? What's, shutdown going to be like? Did you feel like you weren't sure what to do, or were you able to see a quick vision towards that pickup? Were you able to see a quick vision towards, okay, at least we can pivot here for now and then figure it out along the way? How did you guys feel during that process?
I don't think that there's been a time since March where I felt like I knew what to do. It's a lot of big responsibility to have, as a decision maker in a business, to be deciding, what do we do? How do we keep people safe? How do we, keep things going? How do we find that balance of keeping things going, keeping people safe? Like there's been a lot to think about, and, very little, concrete guidance. It's not like someone comes and tells you like, here's how to run a factory during a global pandemic. Like no one tells you that. And so, for us, I think we've been fortunate that we're kind of DIY and we're kind of scrappy. And so we're used to figuring things out ourselves. We're used to trying to come up with solutions ourselves. And so we've just been doing that to the best of our ability, listening to people around us, but, ultimately having to make calls. And that's just been happening for months now.
Yeah, I think that's been the challenge for many of us is, we're not really out of it yet. I think that's the challenge is we may not be in lockdown like we were earlier in the year, but for many of us, we're still pivoting through it. We're still kind of figuring out. We had someone join us to just say hello. Just want to say hello back. Someone said, "Hi guys, nice to see you." I'm going to say it's Himanshu. I'm thinking, but glad you're joining us. And just for anyone who is joining us live, we love questions. So if you have any questions for Nicole, if you have any questions because you're noodling them in your brain, and even if you're not watching this live, maybe you're watching this as a replay, we love questions too. So just post them in the comments. Myself, my team will make sure we pass them over to Nicole, or we'll try to answer them as well. But it's always fun when we can hear from you as well. So Nicole, let's dive back in. Let's talk about where things are today. Like, how have you, kind of given your business that stability in this uncertain time? I think one thing that I've been talking to a lot of people about is that, yes, we don't know how things are going to turn out. Things are still unknown. Uncertainty hasn't stopped. But for many businesses, we're trying to find that place where we get a little bit of stability, at least in current state, or we start to find some of that resilience. Have you felt like you found that place? Have you felt like you found at least a piece of that stability in being able to keep the business, going at a rate where you're still able to service customers, get product out, and so forth? Or if you feel like you're still figuring it out and you're willing to share that with us, we'd love to hear too.
Yeah. Well, we have figured some things out. From the beginning, we were, considered, as a food manufacturer, we're considered an essential business in Illinois. So we never did fully shut down. We kept going. We limited the amount of people that were in our building in order to create more space and try to make this, make the whole environment safer for everyone who is there. You can't run a factory without people. So we're trying to make that space work as best as possible. And with our team in the office, we have always been a highly collaborative team where, we're walking over to each other's desks a bunch of dozens of times a day to talk things over or share a piece of information or whatever. And so learning how to work remotely has, I think, been a new challenge for us. How do we stay collaborative? How do we stay in touch? How do we stay on top of everything that we have going on from our own separate spaces? And I think, now we're kind of figuring that out. Things are going well, I guess as well as you can expect. We've managed to keep everyone on our team employed, and that's been really important. We've actually added more people since March. So far, so good, I guess. I think it's brought to the forefront how tenuous everything is. For a business like ours, without a tremendous safety net, we don't have, an investor, someone who can bail us out if things go wrong. Things have always been somewhat tenuous because we really have to rely on ourselves and try not to make any mistakes. And this has really brought that to the forefront even more, just how temporary this all could be.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard thing about running a business is, you can build the best plans. You can build all these contingencies and processes, but it really is a journey in resilience. It's really a process of trying to figure out when the unknown hits. And sometimes the unknown is good and sometimes the unknown is bad. I joke a lot of times when I do training about like how success can be just as challenging as these other items that, sometimes when you get more orders or more people want your product than you can deliver, that can be a scary space to be in as well. So I think it's really kind of interesting. And that's why I love doing these interviews, is showing people kind of the people behind the brands that, they feel like we feel. Many of us who are entrepreneurs, we're struggling. We're trying to find the light and find the direction kind of together. We had a great comment come in. I'm just going to put it on the screen there for you. One sec. Where Paulina, great to see you, Paulina. Thanks for joining us. And she was just saying hello, kind of one leader to together. She said, I had a moment last week where I wish someone would just tell me what to do for the, for a change. It would be nice to just follow orders and, know exactly what to do. But when everyone's looking up to you, you have these big responsibilities. It can be hard, but at the same time, it's wonderful to be in this position where you are a leader in an organization, where you are able to do like the work that you said, where you made changes in your factory, where you made changes in the office and kept everyone employed. So you have to be very proud, or at least I think that's just amazing that you were able to accomplish that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big responsibility, every day, even if I'm doing the most menial task, like there's still the weight of that responsibility that there's all of these people that are employed because of, the work that we're doing, or because, we pay all the bills on time, or because, like all of these things happen because all of these things have to happen in order to keep all of these people employed. So it is a big responsibility, and one that I think, I take really seriously.
Yeah. And I think it's nice to hear that and see that, because I think as we all, vote with our dollars, as we all make decisions on how we support organizations and businesses, I think it's important that when we're making those decisions, whether we're using Instacart or whether we're going into the grocery store, that we're making sure we're choosing businesses like yours because we're supporting something even bigger. We're supporting a business that's employing others. It's a business that's, like you said, it's vegan owned and vegan ran. And I think that's really important that we get that word out and let people know about businesses like, businesses like Upton Naturals, because it's a way for us to keep our community afloat. It's a great way for us to keep the movement going by making sure that we buy and support businesses like yours.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do our part, like for us, running Upton's Naturals, it is a form of activism. So there are a lot of great organizations in the world that tell you, what's going on in animal agriculture system, what's going on in our food system, all of these that are presenting all of these issues, right? And so for us, like, what we do is we try to create a solution. So if you're not eating this, you can eat this. Like, we're just trying to constantly create solutions to make it easier to eat in a way and to live in a way that's cruelty free. So that's really important to us.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's really important for people to see Upton Naturals as a solution. You know what I mean? See it that way. I love Paulina just posted another message talking about we've gone through terrorist attacks, in Bali specifically, earthquakes, volcano eruptions, we can get through a pandemic. And reason I wanted to make sure I put that up there, especially for people who are maybe watching today and still struggling in their business or still feeling like, oh, I wish this would be over. Like like they're wishing kind of that we were through this path, and just helping people understand that many of us are survivors. Many of us have persevered in other scenarios. And I think sometimes you have to remember that you've been through some of those other scenarios before, especially a business like yourself. We know, being in business for 15 years, when you've been through different challenges, this is another challenge and this is another opportunity to persevere. And I don't know if you want to share a story or if there's anything that maybe is in the Uptown. Oh, I keep saying that. I'm so sorry. Upton Naturals history of something where you guys had that resistance, had that problem, and then you found a great way to persevere. Do you have one of those stories you'd like to share or would like to share publicly? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, not related to the business specifically, but Dan and I, years ago, I think 2001 or two, this was, maybe someone will remember, but Dan and I took our first vacation and we ended up in Tokyo during the tsunami and the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear meltdown. And we went through a lot at that time, in a new city, in a new country that neither of us had ever been to immediately. The initial earthquake was literally 1 minute after our plane landed.
Wow.
So, when I think about, I mean, we were fine. We were safe. We were maybe a little hungry, but we were fine. But, when I think about like the things that you learn, the patience that you learn from the people around you, the resilience that you learn from the people around you, like all of that you just take with you. All the time, the generosity of other people. And so I think that, if we can play a small part like that in the future now or whatever, I think that that's really valuable.
I love that. That's a great story to share, and also a good reminder, I think, for many of us out there. So one thing I always love to do while I'm doing these sessions is to, provide others who are either struggling, trying to find their footing, is provide them with some insight, perspective, or advice as you've gone through this in your business, as you've, rebounded and really kind of been able to keep the business, going and so forth. Is there any advice that you would offer to anyone out there who's still getting their footing or who's still figuring out how to make some of the changes that you've made. Anything you want to share with them or anything you would offer them?
I think, I mean, one of the most important things that, I think I've learned and I think, other people have learned is to just be willing to change again. Even you make one decision, but then new information becomes available and you have to change again. And you have to be willing to, constantly be evaluating the decision that you made yesterday and seeing if it's still relevant and still working today. There is no one correct answer right now. There is no, one correct way to do things. And the situation is changing all the time. New information is becoming available. So I think just constantly reevaluating and being willing to be like, all right, now yesterday it was like that, but now we have to change it like this because we learned something else. I think that sometimes people are afraid of that appearing as like the decision yesterday was wrong, but the decision yesterday was the right decision yesterday. And now today is a new set of circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's great to tell people that it's not about evaluating what you did yesterday or those decisions yesterday, of moving forward and making decisions on the new information that's available, because new information and new things keep happening. So I think that's really, really great advice. From a marketing standpoint, and I don't know how much you're involved in the marketing, are there any specifics that you've done differently from a marketing standpoint, whether how you've communicated to retailers that you work with, how you've communicated with your audience, even in social media? Is there anything that you've done differently from a marketing standpoint in this new environment?
Yeah, I mean, our marketing plan for this year was kind of blown up. We do a lot of in-person events, a lot of in-person marketing, and all of that became impossible. We're launching a lot of new products this year. I think six, if I'm right. We launched
How
six
many
new
new products?
six.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
So, normally we would be introducing people to those new products in person or, through in-store sampling, things like that. And that's just not an option in the current environment. So, we've had to change the way that we're trying to communicate with people. Obviously, it's a lot more digital, it's a lot more social media. In addition to that, we've changed, the way we've used social media, because and a lot of that is our marketing manager, Natalie, who's handling that. Her and I work together, but she's made a lot of good changes to our social media account. I mean, we're a very purpose-driven company. Like I said, we're vegans. This stuff is important to us personally. And a lot of the other issues that have come up, the social justice issues are also really important to us personally. And so we've been trying to signal boost like a lot of things that are going on in the world and trying to do that in a way that's still organic to who we are, which I think has worked because we are an organization that cares about things and that does things, and we're not just here to cash in on a trend. We're people who are part of a community. We're part of a vegan community. We're part of our community here in Chicago. We're citizens of the world. So I think we've been trying to use our platform to support things in our city and in the world that we want to see. So we've been helping to host food drives outside of our restaurant. We made a post last week promoting the post office. Like we want to support so many things, and we live in a city. So, living in Chicago, our employees, the people we work with, are touched personally by a lot of things that are going on. And so you can't deny that things are happening and just focus on the promotional message. So we're trying to find the balance, I guess.
Yeah. And it is challenging to do the balance. Um, and with everything going on in the world, we're not just managing a pandemic, but we are managing, especially even in here in the US, we have a very volatile political kind of environment that's going on right now. We have, like you said, social injustice and the movements, and how do we support? How do we self-examine to make sure we are all doing our part? So I think it's a very interesting year where, I think it's challenging a lot of us as business owners to look at ourselves differently, to envision who we could be in our communities differently. And I think it's also, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, I don't mind either way. But I find this year is becoming a year, especially for a lot of business owners and leaders in organizations like yourself, where we have to look at what we evaluate as success. Where and what do we want to be the mark that we leave kind of in these times like this where, people are struggling, people are challenged, and we're running a business that has the capabilities to do, whether it's amplify voices in social media, the capability to host activities, or like you said, a food drive, because you have a facility. And the question is, how and where do we want to play that role? Like, what is our opportunity for driving change? And also, I'm going to throw in another piece. I know I'm giving you a big, complicated question here, but the idea of the type of, as they say, the type of change you want to see in the world. I think there's such a cool opportunity here in 2020, where as business owners, as leaders in businesses, we can actually do that. We actually have some channels for those things. And I don't know how you feel about that. Do you agree that there are those channels? And if so, what are some of those channels that you feel like you're either developing or have developed this year?
Yeah. I hate to give myself that much credit to think that I'm making that much of a difference, but I'm certainly trying. Like, I'm certainly trying with what I have to do what I can, to recognize where the people around us are touched by the things going on in the world, and to see where we can create solutions. This is a totally different example, but before COVID, actually last year and the year before, at our office, or at the factory, we've found a few stray dogs. And, immediately our team is just like, what can we do to help this dog? Or we've had two dogs and an opossum, actually,
Oh, wow.
in our office. But we're constantly just like, our team is just like, here's a problem. What can we do about it? Even though it's not like our job, it's our job. Like, if we're presented with a problem, it becomes our job. And no one's like, that's not my job to save that dog. Like, immediately everyone's just like, all right, posting on lost dogs, doing this, like calling a vet, like all these things. And so, I just feel like, for me, I don't feel like I can take any credit for that, but I feel like I somehow landed in the right place with all of these like compassionate weirdos who are so driven and so motivated to make change where we can. And I think we're just going to keep doing that.
That's beautiful. That's a great story to share. And it's great to hear that. I think that's the key, is doing what we can, and also surrounding ourselves and being in environments like that, as well as promoting environments like that. So that I feel like those kind of environments always come from leadership as well. So I think it's a great thing to hear that that's the kind of environment that's created. in your business. So as we wrap up today, maybe let's give everyone a glimpse into some of these new products that are coming, if it's available for public. I don't want
Yeah.
to crack the seal on anything, but if you want to let people know about the new products, let people know where they can get them or where they can get them, it'd be great to let our audience know.
Yeah, so this summer we launched a vegan hot dog called the Up Dog. We're called Upton's Naturals. We launched a dog. We called it Up Dog. So the Up Dog is available in Whole Foods in the Midwest, in Sprout stores, and is coming soon to 400 Target locations. So you can find that. It's a really unique vegan hot dog. It has a snap when you bite into it. So it's great over a fire on a grill, really good. And then coming in the fall, we'll have 5 new products. Two are going to be in the grocery section at stores like Whole Foods. One is a shredded, lightly seasoned jackfruit. And then one is a banana blossom, which can be eaten as a meat alternative. It's literally a flour. So another minimally processed whole food meat alternative. We have the jackfruit, which is a whole food meat alternative. I think the only one that exists. And then this banana blossom will also be a whole food meat alternative. And then this fall, we're also coming to Whole Foods with 3 soups. So I think they're chicken noodle, Italian wedding, and a chicken tortilla.
Nice. I love to hear that, because I think even during this pandemic, everyone's been afraid that everyone's pulling back or not doing anything new. So it is wonderful to hear that you're continuing with those plans. Plus, as a vegan consumer myself, can't wait to get that snap, get my grill going. So it's really exciting to hear about the new products. Let's give everyone the website and your social media accounts. So if they want to get in touch with you, if they want to just give you a shout out or maybe even share a picture and tag the company, let's give them a little bit of that detail now if we can.
Yeah, we love that. It's uptonsnaturals.com. So Uptons with an S, naturals with an S. .com. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, Upton's Naturals, or if you're interested in our restaurant in Chicago, which is all vegan, it's Upton's Break Room. Also, pro tip, not many people know this yet, but Upton's Break Room is about to be, in a couple weeks maybe, will be home to a new vegan donut concept that we're launching called Liberation Donuts. Mm-hmm. So pretty soon you'll be able to get donuts in Upton's Break Room, where we also serve soft serve. And I'm not saying that you should combine them, but maybe you should combine them.
Oh, I'm jealous. I'm down here in Florida. So I will have to live through all the photos on social media when they show up. But congratulations. That sounds like such great things that are happening. And I'm so glad you took some time to, share it with us, share it with our audience, and hopefully maybe inspire some people out there that are running their businesses, are finding their way. And also many of us, as we play dual roles as consumers and business owners and business leaders, that we get to maybe dive into some of these wonderful new products. So if there's anything else you want to share with our audience today before we wrap up?
I think for any business owner and just anyone, you're doing a great job. Whatever you're doing a great job.
I will leave it at that. That is a perfect way to leave it. So thank you so much, Nicole, for taking some time out of your day to talk with me. Thank you for kind of sharing the story. And also thank you for everything that you're doing, that the business is doing, and how you've been pivoting and keeping these wonderful foods coming to us so that we can continue to, take veganism into the mainstream, and also continue to really make sure that people have these alternatives at their fingertips. So thank you so much. It was wonderful talking with you, getting a chance to chit chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone who has watched us live, and for all of you who watched the recording of this or listened to us on our podcast. We really appreciate you. We really love the opportunity to bring you these interviews and just kind of chat with others in our space. We think it's a great opportunity to kind of chat amongst us, or even behind the scenes discussion about what's kind of going on inside the brains of individuals that are running some of these amazing organizations that we know and love. So thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for comments. And we love likes and all of those good things in heart. So if you enjoyed today's interview, please give us some love. We love to see it. It puts a smile on my face and our team's face. And I'm sure it'll put a smile on Nicole's face as well. Sorry, Nicole, I'm taking a leap of faith there. But thank you everyone so much for joining. And we look forward to chit-chatting with everyone else soon. And Nicole, I look forward to chit-chatting you again, hopefully in the future. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.